Hi, I'm Jeff, and welcome back to Practical Renaissance. Something you may not have seen much of on this channel is welding. I have this cheap little welder from Harbor Freight that I bought for some repairs about 3 years ago, and I haven't really done much other than a few little spots with it. Now this thing is about as unremarkable and cheap as they come. It's about 80 bucks on sale. The adjustments are really narrow and not really specific, and it's really not very powerful. It's 110 volt. Uses the gasless MIG flux core type wire. Now, why even bother with this thing anymore? Well, August is WELDA, and that's Weld Every Living Day in August. It's a promotion being put on by Greg's Garage. The idea is to go out in your garage and do some metalworking projects, be it machining, welding, fabricating, or sheet metal, anything of that nature. He's got a list of all the contributors on his website here, and you can see who else is participating, and you can join yourself. It's really cool to see everybody else's projects and who's really doing it every single day this month. I haven't, but it's been a really cool thing to see. I plan on using the opportunity to get better at welding and run some beads and try some different projects. Now, the first task of the month was actually a project my brother-in-law brought in for me from a car. It's a retainer for the spare tire on the bottom of a truck, and that little wrench is supposed to hold the retainer in place while you unscrew the lug nut, or screw the lug nut in. It's stripped completely out, so try to do some welding on it and get it locked back in. The great thing about it is it's non-load bearing. It's thick enough that I'm not worried about burning through it, and ultimately if we screw it up we can saw it off and find another wrench to weld on. Now these first couple of tacks, I'm of course sticking the parts together so they don't move, but also I'm really getting a feel for the settings on the welder, and this actually kind of took a little bit because the charts on the welder aren't very specific. They list some vague material sizes and then the kind of the general number settings on the welder, which don't have any sort of real-world measurement. After doing that, though, I was able to flip the part over. It's got some globby spots on the bottom, but on this part, I was able to get some good, decent, smooth beads. In an effort to look like I know what I'm doing and try to save some heat through the part, I decided to stitch weld and start my next weld in front of where I started my first weld and go that way to try to keep everything from getting far too hot. Everything went pretty well until I had a little problem with the wire feed. It got a little jammed up and I got kind of a nugget there. Something grinder, not a welder. Needed to take care of a lot of those little tacks on the other side that were pretty ugly, so yeah, flap disc. And I got a pretty solid weld here. It's a little ugly because of the grinding and some of those little knobs, but at least it's a successful project to start off the month, right? Next thing on the list is to upgrade my actual working area, so I'm putting this piece of C-channel into an old vise. I need to clean all that scale and crap off the C-channel to give us a nice, good grounding surface as well as flat and true area to work on. So I put it up in the mill here, and we're using the homemade fly cutter to just cut through all that scale and give us a nice, true, flat surface. This is a lot of fun. This is probably the largest thing I've done in the mill yet, and one of the biggest obvious things I've done with the fly cutter as well, and who's really satisfying to watch. Worked like a champ. I also decided to cover the other half of my workmate with some sheet steel to protect it from sparks. And now it's just time to do some practice. I'm trying some tack welds to do a basic lap joint here on some 3/16 material. And I clearly need to spend more time actually getting my settings right. But that's part of the whole point of this, is just to get out in my garage, and even if I have a lot of failures, to do those as much as possible to try to learn, get more comfortable, and ultimately try to get better. Now you can see here, after cutting that last joint in half, I got some penetration, but it's otherwise pretty bad. But it was a learning experience, and now I know a little bit better, a little bit more practice. I also figured out how to set up a camera behind the actual welding glass so you can see the bead. This is pretty cool. I need to have perfected a little bit, but it was a lot of fun. That's one thing I will say about welding. It's a lot of fun to photograph and film. You see things like that. and it makes for a lot of just kind of fun, pretty photography. The beads are starting to get a little bit better when I do in a straight line, and now I'm noticing that it's a lot more of my hand technique and just general kind of everything to do with the way I move the welder to get more even bead. But as you can see, my arc is getting smoother. I'm getting less of those stop-starts and getting more of that bacon frying sound. So I'm seeing that as a little tiny bit of improvement. It's kind of nice. After running dozens and dozens of beads, I learned more about heat control, work holding, how to more evenly move the torch, how to hold the torch correctly, and other little settings and features of just welding in general, as well as this welder. Well, I'm probably not going to pass a test anytime soon, but that's a whole lot better than I was doing before. And it got me confident and comfortable enough with this machine to actually start doing some of the projects I really want to do this month. So stick around for those. I've got a couple of cool little easy, cheap, and handy fabrication projects. Anyway, check out this, check out WELDA, check out Greg's Garage, and all the other content contributors for this whole month. It's a lot of really cool stuff, and thank you for watching.